Testing, testing. I believe this thing is on. Another engagement with the void from Onyx Void. Another morning, up again, out, walking to the dollar store. Finally got my check cleared. I guess the bankers took their holidays, but most of the stuff is done by AI anyway, so I don't know what took them so long. But, I got my few shekels, and I'm going to spend them at the dollar store. Get, just usual essentials. Some coffee, some toilet paper, uh, maybe some detergent, some bleach. Whatever I can carry. I'm on foot. I can't really carry much. And that'd be that. But it's nice. I'm walking because I need to save money for gas. Yeah, sure, I'm on a motorcycle. It only takes like $5 to fill up, but I need that for work. And it's crazy. And we got to the point where our lives are basically, we work to come back to work. We don't work to live. We work to just survive, barely survive long enough to come back to work. For most of us. For a lot of us. I can't say most of us. For a lot of us. The internet will have you believing certain things. And the internet is basically a round of fear, hype, and it's fear, hype, and greed, and propaganda. And not everything is real, but you have to assume that a certain section of people on the internet are not doing great. And definitely people off the internet are not doing great. If it's not the homeless people on your corner, is sleeping in their tents in the cold. It's people driving around in busted beaters with the bumpers hanging off and the tires bent. One tire bent at an angle, but it's still running, so we're just going to keep balling. We're going to keep rolling till the wheels fall off. And it's bad for a lot of people. And now the internet will have you believe that there are people making well over six figures, and even they are having trouble, especially if you live in the high rent, high cost cities like New York and Los Angeles and those big names that you shouldn't be at, but you're there anyways. I think my next video, I figured it out while I was walking right now, is going to be how I would survive if I ever ended up homeless. But the topic for this video is the sticker shock that I seen this morning for silver prices. And it's not the spot price. The spot price right now, we've seen before. We've seen it at the beginning of the month. It was the mid 50s, $57 per ounce, hovering around there, which blatantly, flat out, just shows that there is a market crash. It's not even just a market crash, there's a currency crash. Your USD that you work for, you go spend your time, you go trade your time for, that currency is worth nothing. And $57 for an ounce, I don't know how high it could go. I heard some people spread the theory that silver, we can see silver at $200. We can see silver where it should be at a quarter of gold, which gold is pushing up to. It's around $4,200 right now. So a quarter of that would be roughly, it's 1,100, 1,200, $1,200. That's $1,200 silver, if you can imagine that. And I remember a time when some wise man told me to go ahead and start collecting silver ounces, and I didn't take it serious. But I did it anyways. I was like, I'll see what happens. And I got 2-3 ounces of silver, whatever, just set it aside. Just, maybe I'll wear this jewelry one day, maybe not, just as a joke. But this is no joke, because at the time I bought it, an ounce of silver off of Amazon, which is where I'm getting my prices from, those are the resellers, was $25. Now we're here in 2025, and an ounce of silver is hovering around anywhere from $78 to $82 for a Silver Eagle or a Britannia of a random year. And that floored me today. Now, I've been hearing whispers. I follow silver, yes. I follow gold, just to point at it and say, hey, look this. If you really think your USD is worth anything, look at this. And the spot price is where it's at. But that's not what's calculated into delivery. Delivery fee is going up as well. So that's why the spot price and what you see on reseller places, reseller companies like Amazon, eBay, whatever, but you probably shouldn't buy your metals from eBay. But that's why you see them like so high. Because it still has to get to you, even if you buy it. You generally, unless you have like a brokerage account where you can just pull an ETF stock or whatever, you want to physically collect it, you still have to get it to you. And that costs money. So, tip for that, if you generally want to do that, you're going to want to buy in bulk. So, bulk pricing for, let's say like 5 ounces of silver, you're looking at $450, somewhere around that range. $410, $450, which is absolutely insane. But if you play in volumes like that, 5, 10, 20 ounces, you usually get a discount because you're moving more silver at once for the price of one. 5, 10, 20 for the price of one. Moving one, because they're all going to come in the same package. They're not going to be that heavy that it's going to trigger anything. But it used to say, this is the thing. When I go to work, I work my 5 hours. I got my check, as I said earlier, if I dropped. When I go to work, I work my 5, 6, 7 hours, because nobody can actually hire anybody. Everything is temporary. It's temporary labor. You gotta go through a contractor and become a subcontractor, that contractor. And there's so many layers of stupidity because nobody wants to take on the liability of having an employee. So here we are. Now I get my check after everything's been taken out of it, after the main contractor that I'm contracted under has taken their cut. And I'll tell you right now, it's definitely less than that ounce of silver once delivered. I am at least, almost on parity for what an ounce of silver is for a day of work for me, which back in the Roman times, an ounce of silver would get you a day's worth of work from the centurions, from a soldier. But also, that ounce of silver would buy you a meal, a full meal that you sit down and eat for the day. And some got paid more, some got paid less, of course. But I wasn't there. I can't say that. This was just a general conception of what it was. And we were heading back to those times. It would be interesting. It'd be interesting to see if people forego the USD and start asking for ounces of silver for payment instead of, accepting this USD. Now, there's going to be a transfer fee, but I would say in the long run, asking for physical silver for your work seems like it's going to play out way better than asking for a USD right now. Now, will employers go for it? Probably not. You probably don't have that kind of bargaining power. But it might happen. In fact, the crypto enthusiasts of the part of YouTube was advocating for people to actually have their employers pay them in crypto. And that did become a thing. That actually does happen for a few people, if you lucky of us that have the skills to work remotely. And it makes the transfer of money from employer to employee extremely easy, actually. Now, on the conversion side, that's happens in the background. That's some banking issues, whatever. But the banks have gotten on it too. So, something like silver, maybe if it wasn't physical, it's probably not a far stretch, since silver is legal currency. Why wouldn't it be? There's literally physical silver printed into legal dollar bills. Although the silver dollars are not worth $1 anymore, which once again shows how far the dollar, USD, is from its actual value. So, a lot of people are watching everything spiral out of control, trying to figure out how can they put the genie back in the bottle. And there's your one solution. Ask for silver. If you make that much, and you have that kind of leverage, you could probably ask for gold, but maybe a quarter ounce of gold, but I don't think that's going to play over well. But, ask for silver, pay in silver ETFs. Forget your stock options. Be like, hey, I want a silver ETF. And I want to be able to, a silver ETF you can cash out on into physical silver if you want to eventually. But another industrious day. Trains, the cars, diesels, planes flying around me. And I'm here walking to the dollar store, yelling into the void once again, and hoping that someone on the other end understands what I'm saying. Once again, I forgot to e-beg, but please like and subscribe if you found any value in this. And I could probably start working on that autism, putting in Subway Surfers and mangas and stuff that I'm supposed to be making. Until the next time, enjoy the void.